everyone, I'm Adrian, that's Philip, that's Jay, we're from Audio Excellence Canada. I hope you and your loved ones are well and safe. I thought today we talk about what's happening with the coronavirus and how each of us is dealing with it. It's perhaps a little bit more of a somber video, but I thought it might be good for each of us to share with you how we're working through it individually and perhaps share with you our struggles and also our achievements. So why don't I start, since I came up with the topic and I figured if the guys see what I'm sharing, they can be willing to share as well. So when news of the coronavirus first started appearing, I remember saying to the guys that I wasn't concerned about it too much. Like a lot of people I'd seen and read news on it, and a lot of the news was basically this is similar to what a flu would be, and not to worry too much about it. And I remember talking to Jay about this, that our last Toronto audio show, 2019 October, just before that, I got sick, and I got pretty sick, and then Jay got sick, and through the show, he was completely wiped out. He was sitting on a chair, just showing up, being there. Thank God he did, because we needed help, but he was, for all intents and purposes, completely wiped out. And a lot of the news had indicated that for the majority of people who caught the virus, you would get flu-like symptoms, and then for a minority, some would get very, very sick, and of course, some would pass away. So I wasn't really all that concerned about it. And then the other thing also is that over the years, I've developed this very fatalistic attitude. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. You do the best that you can to prevent things and to take care of yourself and loved ones. But ultimately, if it happens, it happens. And if that's what life deals you, then that's how it is. So even to this day, I'm very much of that mindset. That's not to say I minimize the reality. It's just for myself how I deal with it. So then when the Ontario government mandated a lockdown of non-essential businesses, Audio Excellence effectively closed down. And that was, about 3 weeks ago, just before April, the week before April. And they mandated that we close until the end of April at this point. So everybody went home. I would still come to the store every day to answer phone calls, messages, do shipping and do paperwork and things like that. And I would keep in touch with the guys via email and so on. But I can certainly tell you that I became much more concerned about a number of things. One of them, of course, was financially. What would happen to Audio Excellence? Now, thankfully, we had some very good months leading up to this virus pandemic. And so we had set up a war chest, as I always do every year for the summer, because the summer months are usually very slow. It's cyclical in our industry. So I always set up a war chest whenever possible for the summer months. So we had some of this money that I could pull from. But then, of course, the other thing I was concerned about was that with the lockdown, if there were absolutely zero sales, then that war chest would get depleted very, very quickly. So what do you do? So I'll tell you what I did. I immediately contacted my bank to make sure that there was a line of credit available. Of course, then the Canadian government announced that there would be funds set up to help small businesses. In early April, there was no availability to access this plan. Just yesterday, I believe, the portal opened. So for all you small business owners in Canada, you can now finally access these plans. If you go to the bank that you normally work with, go to their website, there will be a link. It's a short application. It's very simple, and you can apply up to, I think, $40,000. So there was a lot of anxiety and concern there. And then, of course, the other thing was related to that. What would happen to my friends, my associates? How would I keep them on the payroll? My bills in the store as well as home, and all these kinds of things. And that's all being worked out even as we speak. The Canadian government has offered help. My accountant is looking into the details so we can work that out. In the meantime, I'm compensating the guys for doing videos with me, for doing some work on the side for me, and hopefully by next week we can get everybody onto full-time work and keep our social distancing, of course, at the same time. But anyway, that's mindset. Through this process, I determined I knew that I would not stop contributing to charity, because charity is a very big part of my life. So we continue to dedicate all of the funds that we get from YouTube from these videos. We continue to match it and donate them to the Salvation Army. We continue to support World Vision and the Daily Bread Food Bank. And I'm telling you this not to feel for anything other than to just let you know that by contributing, I feel a lot better. I know as by contributing, it's subconsciously telling myself that there's enough, there will be a way. So then as far as work related, as I mentioned earlier, I continue to come in every day. I spend about 4 or 5 hours each day in the store. Thankfully, there have been online sales, and I continue to expedite, sell these products, do deliveries where necessary. Just did a couple of deliveries yesterday. And along those lines, here's a shameless pitch. We just before this all happened, as a matter of fact, I think about a week into it, I told Jerry and the staff that anything that's online on our online web store, that we would include the shipping. And in addition to that, not everything, but on most things. And in addition to that, we're going to run sales and specials on items that we sell. Now, a lot of these products I cannot put on our online store because of our agreements with the manufacturers. So if there are things that you are interested in, email me, Adrian at Audio Excellence. If you're serious, I will do everything I can to help you get what you're looking for. And by you doing, by purchasing from us, you're also helping Audio Excellence to be financially viable and come out of this strong and healthy. Thank you for that. Again, our demos, specials, anything that you're interested in, just let us know. And then personally, because of all this time, Philip and I were just joking before the cameras come on. Both Philip and I don't sleep very well. I just from not having slept very well for a long time, my body had gotten used to sleeping for just 4 or 5 hours a day, waking up in the middle of the night, and that's it. But now that there's not a lot of work, I find myself napping sometimes in the afternoons. I'm walking the dogs a lot, and I have 2 dogs, and they're absolutely loving this period of time. I'm also watching a lot more news, which I never used to before. I watch YouTube's videos to update myself in terms of what's happening with the virus. I'm also watching YouTube to learn new things. I'm picking up guitar and piano again, something that I'd let go for a very long time. I'm watching music history, music production. Along those lines, there's a gentleman called Rick Beato, great channel on YouTube. Check him out, Beato. He's got, Philip doesn't like it. I like how approachable his style is and how he talks about different topics in music. So check it out if you like it. I'm listening to a lot more music and podcasts because of all this time that I've got. And then the one thing I'm watching on TV is a thing called Narcos on Netflix. It's just, I don't watch a lot of TV, and this just happened to be on, and I turned it on, and it's not particularly compelling, but just something that I'm watching.
Have you seen Money Heist?
No, it just started, I think, but I haven't watched
Philip.
it. Yeah,
I finished season 3 just now.
Okay, because the 4th season just was uploaded.
I'm not gonna spoil it, but someone dies, and I'm just like,
Okay, enough of that. All right, so who wants to go next? That's me. Philip, you want to go next?
So on the website, I made the statement that I'm a lifer. And so obviously going from working and not having a day off really in 3 years to like, what am I going to do? Didn't help.
Yeah, I think you took it pretty hard. I know Jay and Jerry and a bunch of other clients emailed you and you wouldn't respond. We texted you, you wouldn't respond. And we got really concerned. As a matter of fact, it got to the point, I hope Philip's not going to be upset that we're sharing this, but I thought the reason why we do this video is to in fact share. Got to the point where when I did get a hold of Jay, I said, can you do me a favor? You're closer to him in terms of physical proximity. And drop by and see if he's okay. Because Philip sometimes will go into these hermetic moods. He'll become a hermit and just lock himself off and not respond to anybody.
I'm okay being alone.
I know you are, but you know we're friends, and I wanted to make sure you're okay. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, but the hard thing is, you know, you have a routine. So amongst many other things, being my age now, and you kind of know this, Adrian, because you're just a little bit younger than I am. I am the oldest one in the store right now. I'm a creature of routine, and I might complain a lot about it, and Jay certainly hears about all my complaints, but I still need to have routine, and I didn't have routine, and that just really wiped me out. I have a little bit of ADHD, some minor symptoms, and one of them is that when I'm not occupied and I'm bored, I fall asleep. So I would wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning like I do every day when I was working, and then be up for a few hours, and then I would get just so tired. I would crash for a couple hours, and I'd wake up for a little bit. I'd try to eat something, and then I would crash. So this was going on for, well, still sort of going on. I swore that I would get my system back up and running because I have this elaborate all-tube system, and I actually got my little speakers up. You know, the little Tectons, the little open baffle ones that I bought, and I ran my amplifiers in for a couple of days, and you know, I get to listen to the greatest stuff here. It's a total indulgence. You know, it's not guilty pleasure that my entire life is. But I got my system back up and running. I'd never had these speakers hooked up to all my gear. And it did some things really well, and then it didn't do anything else well. So I've been preoccupied with that. I have my turntable going, everything, you know, had a layer of dust on it. I cleaned everything up. And so that's what I've been doing, is like listening to records, watching a bit of TV, eating a little bit, and then crashing.
How are you mentally? Are you dealing with this okay now? Getting used to it?
No. So when you mentioned there might be a way to get everybody back working, I was actually quite
good. Yeah, because that is definitely
that.
Something that I'm working on doing that, and sooner than later.
Like, I'm not in any danger or anything like that, but I am a bit sad. And so when I've been watching all these television shows, I've been catching up on stuff. And of course, I've been extremely emotional about it, which is not necessarily a great thing, but at the same time, it is who I am. So,
yeah. And I think part of it is that, you know, maybe what makes us love what we do as in this industry and as salespeople is that we really like people. We like the interaction with people who have a common interest and passion, and we love to talk to people. And when we don't get that opportunity, it does discombobulate us, if that's the right word.
I mean, I still have clients contacting me, and I'm corresponding with them, but I can't really help them out in the way that I would like to, and the way that I know I can. And, you know, I'm telling everybody everything's on hold until we as a society, you know, are able to get back up on our feet. And, you know, it's a really extreme moment in history right now. and it could have been prevented, in my opinion. But let's make the best of it, and let's look positively towards the future. And I fortunately not. I don't have any acquaintances or family or friends who've been touched in a way by the pandemic that has been tragic. So everybody's in really good health. No one's sick. Everybody is, doing okay. And so that's a blessing. Yeah. And you guys are all okay. That's a blessing. Yeah. And, but I miss it every day. I miss it a lot. I hate to admit it. I miss it a lot.
Yeah. And I miss you guys. I really do. I never thought I'd say that, with all the cursing I do to you guys. But the truth is, the very day that we had to close, that same day driving home, I realized, my God, just like you, I'm a creature of habit, that I was going to miss you guys very much. And throughout that whole time, that's the reason why I try to keep so busy, so that I can deal with it better. Yeah. Jay, what about you?
The week that Audio Excellence closed, the last day I couldn't make it to work because I was having coughing, mouth fever, and so I was staying away from people.
2 days actually.
2 days for 2 days. Yeah. So I was away for 2 days, and
tell them what happened. I told you if you got really sick, what you should do.
Okay, so
amputation?
No. So agent told me to go get tested for COVID-19, and because what I do is actually Villa, for example, he only has contact with us basically, right? But
you do have clients,
and clients, but I actually have more further contact, and especially with distributors, because distributors are known to travel a lot. So that was my first assumption. I got pretty scared, but the symptoms were really mild. And
we do know distributors who have come back from China, so that was not exactly.
And I don't know if I had COVID-19 because when I called to get it tested, even I didn't have all those symptoms, but just to get it tested, I exaggerated and said I have all the symptoms, as advised, and they told me to stay home.
Well, tell them why. Tell everybody why you think they said that, because you had said to me they asked you a bunch of questions. So what were the questions?
They asked me a bunch of questions on how severe my condition was, and they asked me if I lived with anyone, and they asked me a bunch of questions like, do I have high blood pressure, low blood pressure, any underlying conditions,
how old you are,
how old I am. And I think that was the key. When they asked me how old I was, and I said 25, they said rest at home. And if it gets worse, contact us back. But they were pretty darn clear that at the time, I don't know about now, but at the time, definitely only certain group of people that were more severe was prioritized with testing. So I stayed home. I got better. It was much more mild than the flu that I had at the Audio Fest. And again, I don't know if it was coronavirus or not. But I tried my best I was wearing a mask at home. I was trying to stay away from my mother because my mother actually has asthma and pretty severe case of asthma. When Audio Excellence closed down and told me, agent texted me about EI, and
EI meaning employment insurance.
Employment insurance. I didn't at the time. I didn't even think what of it. I couldn't logically think, oh shit, this is happening. It was just like I was barely recovering, so I felt a little bit better. But after realizing what just had happened, I immediately applied. As soon as I felt better, I immediately applied. And the process to apply was a pain in the ass. First of all, I went onto the website, and every 5 seconds, the website would crash. Error. And so, text some of my friends who are in the similar situation, and they tell me you gotta try at night or early morning. So I did exactly that. It was still slow, but I managed to get through it. And it's been 3 weeks since then, I think, around, since I applied, and I'm still waiting on the EI. And in the midst of it, my rent is coming up. Credit cards are actually still calling me. That's the funniest thing. They still call you about payment, and
They physically call you.
they physically call me, and that kind of pissed me off because I'm trying my best to pay it off, but you're kind of on the edge. And yes, it's the money that you owe, but you're still on the edge, right? So I was trying to, because what I do on YouTube and I get affiliate money from Amazon, a few $100 there, but I never, it goes into an account, and I never physically claimed it. So you have to actually physically claim it. It comes in checks, and some of them, so it comes in many different forms. Some of our e-checks, some of our checks, and I never really claimed it because it's all of it is a little money. It's not something that I would significantly, maybe I would do it once in a month, take a day to gather everything, right? But sometimes I don't even do it every month because altogether it's only a few $100s. But I was scrambling for it. I was scrambling for everything so that I was financially prepared for what's to come. And that was the physical, not the physical, the mental, I guess, crisis I had in my head was that it's not so much now, because now I'm okay. But looking at the news and looking at the projection of these things, it seems like it's going to be worse, not any better anytime soon. So looking at those situations, I was thinking to myself, okay, so I'm not working. I have to somehow pay my rent. And, I am the other scary thing is that I'm 25 and I'm the only working person in my family. I have my mother and I have a very old dog. So, and both of these, I love them to death, but both of them give me trouble with their health. And I had a, I guess, so-called a financial moment before when both of their health deteriorated at the same time. So going through this, I was trying to not go through the same thing, if you so will. So I was trying to prepare for it.
So how many reviews did you get done though in the?
It's not so much reviews. So I spent a lot of time listening to music, but again, a lot of the side things that I do, you have to understand, only becomes possible. Even reviewing, for example, becomes possible when companies prosper, when companies are not shut down. But if every company is shut down, for example, review, very simple. Everyone knows that I do YouTube reviews. When I do reviews, most companies, during this time would be sending me emails nonstop saying, can you review that? Can you review that? Let's organize it. But this time around, it's silent. In fact, when I reached out to one of these companies saying, okay, I've been dealing with you for a very long time. What product should we review next? Their response was, well, we can't send you anything because the factory is closed. So, and that's pretty much, I'm not blaming anyone, but that's pretty much the problem here is that a lot of the side things I do has come to a halt. In the meanwhile, my Asian mother is going into, she asked me, and thank God she doesn't speak as much English, so I can say this freely, but she asked me, how are we doing financially? Because she has no clue. I'm the only working person. It's my bank. So she asked me, how are we doing financially? And I said, we're perfectly fine for the next few months. The last thing you want is a panicking Asian mother in these situations. And so she's like, okay, great. And then she said, I need to go grocery shopping. So I gave her my card and she came back with $800 worth of groceries.
$800.
Worth of groceries, and she said,
How do you keep all that?
and she said, no, we're prepared for the next few months. We're not going out, and so I'm glad she's staying home and that we have plenty of food so that we don't have to go out. But that kind of shocked me, and
And that's why your credit card company is calling you.
and that's why well, I'm okay now, and hopefully the good news is that this video is very depressing, but it's but I think the last thing I want to say is, I know I'm rambling, but I think it's a good lesson, at least for me, because I've never been through something like this before, and I think it's a good lesson and a good thing, because next time we will be more prepared, and I'll be more prepared. So I think that's a good lesson for some of us out there. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing. Jay will do his best to edit this so that it comes in around about 20 minutes or so instead of about 40
That's
minutes.
not
so
possible.
far.
I'm gonna have to cut out my rambling, but
Yes.
my rambling is required.
But for what it's worth, we thank you for watching this, and I'm sorry that the video is more somber than our videos normally are, but I thought it was important that we share what we're going through so that you know that we're feeling the same way as you. A lot of you probably are. But keep your hopes up. This too shall pass, as they say, and we're always happy to help if we can. Write your comments in the comments box, and send us emails if you'd like to chat. We're available. At least I am on the phone, or send us emails, and we'll respond back to you. And in the meantime, take care of yourself and your family, and we'll see you again sometime. Bye-bye.